What is something you know, because of your profession, which you believe everyone should know to make their lives better, easier, or healthier? Be interested, not interesting. I used to work in film and picked up a lot of acting tips used by industry professionals. One of the biggest lessons you learn in acting is when you're in a scene, don't try to show up the other person or look cool or say your lines in the most epic way possible. Instead, you truly listen to the other actor's lines. You notice details about them. You just immerse yourself in the moment and genuinely take it all in and understand it. And just by doing that and feeling the emotions of the scene and responding naturally, accordingly, boom, you've won an Oscar for the most realistic performance. Because it's /real, but that's also a really good way to live life. Really, truly listen to people. When they speak, try to understand them. Notice beautiful little details. Remember what they love and what they hate and what makes them happy. Be invested in the moment. Don't just live your life trying to act cool. The difference between talking to someone and waiting for your turn to talk at them. In my work, that's called active listening. That is picking up on clues to bring into the conversation later. I'm a civil engineer and I think everyone should know that yellow light time is dictated by the speed limit. For example, if the speed limit is 40 miles per hour, you have 4 seconds of yellow light time. You have 1 second of yellow light time for every 10 miles per hour. If the speed limit is 35 miles per hour, you have 3.5 seconds. Edit. I'm getting this question a lot, so I will answer. The 10-second rule is a general rule of thumb. Signals with red light cameras have less yellow light time. Some areas may have shorter traffic lights than this because they aren't functioning properly. In this case, it should be reported to your community's public works. Shit, this is a cool one. Thanks. Is it also true that after peak hours there are sensors in the ground, triggered by a driver's proximity, to make the light change from red to green? Yes, it's only in newer roads though. You can tell, because it will look like someone cut a square out of the road and then railed it. I work in it, and I can honestly say that by rebooting your device you will fix most of the software related faults that happen. If that doesn't work, then googling the symptoms will more than likely give you a fix or avenue for a fix pretty quickly. I was going to comment about googling, but I'm just gonna add to your comment. I know people joke that my degree is a bachelor's in googling, but I'm constantly amazed at how some people just don't have the ability to search for what they need. I've had to explain to my parents, if you're getting an error, type that in. Add the name of whatever you are using, even if it's just the brand name. Think of as many one-word descriptions as you can. And they still don't get it. Yet, when I find solutions after simply googling, error message blah for HP whatever or Chinese restaurant downtown, wherever in Carter Street, I look like a genius. I joke to myself that people's inability to search for things on the internet allows folks to keep their jobs. But knowing how to figure out how to do something by searching online is amazing. 99% of product manuals are online. It's great. Hell, I discovered my 68-year-old grandmother knew how to Google better than most other adults I knew, and I'm very proud of her. To be fair, this is more a lack of interest in trying, or flat out refusing to read. Google is so human friendly, you could type a sentence in and get a result. I told my dad, type into Google, word for word, what you just asked me, and you'll find an answer. Still struggles to find stuff. Probably because us kids are still young enough to understand these silly internets. Americans, if you need help navigating a complicated government problem, call your representative at the local, states or federal level. There are staff members standing by whose whole purpose is to do constituent services. A lot KF people think their elected officials just sit up in the Capitol, but don't realize they have capital and district staff whose whole purpose is to help people navigate through government problems. When I turned 18, I received a letter from the Social Security Administration that told me I owed $52,000 to Social Security because they had determined that my father was not disabled for the last 2 years of his life and they had overpaid him. He spent the last 2 years of his life in the hospital and about 6 months in a coma, and he was apparently not disabled. I spent months trying to solve the problem on my own and was simply jerked around and treated like a criminal by Social Security. Finally, I got the idea to call my congressman and ask for help. Within a few weeks, I ended up getting an apology letter from the Social Security Administration saying they were wrong, and I shouldn't have to pay for their mistake. That letter is in my baby book now. So much of this, don't be scared to call them, or think it is also corrupt hellscape staffers do their jobs, because they genuinely want to help people in their community. This drive to help is stronger the lower you go on the government ladder. Yup, I agree. I'm currently working on getting a district rep job. I have had 2 interviews so far, and I'm supposed to meet the member next week for a final interview. I could take on higher paying jobs, but I'm going this route because I have a drive to help people in the same way that I was helped. Be a strong advocate for your health. Don't be afraid to talk with your doctor when you notice something that feels wrong to you. And don't be afraid to keep bugging people if you feel you aren't being heard. The medical field is full of people and people make mistakes. Also, for women, especially those over 40, never skip a year for breast cancer screening, and if you have new symptoms, have it done again. Early detection really is a lifesaver. Yup, my wife's cancer was only diagnosed by the 6th doctor she consulted about her pain. She's now fine, and it's been 6 years. This would not be the case had she stopped at 1 or 2 doctors. I work in anatomical transplantation. Lungs of marijuana smokers and lungs of cigarette smokers look exactly the same. People who deny the fact that smoking weed isn't as detrimental to your lungs as smoking cigarettes are kidding themselves. If you ingest smoke, your lungs are going to suffer long-term damage. Plain and simple. Edit. Just to clarify, some distinctions must be made. If you smoke 2 packs a day, your lungs will have considerable more damage than someone who smokes a joint once every other week. I'm referring to habitual smokers with long-term use. I can believe that. I'm also sorry for the shitstorm of downvotes that are about to come your way. Saying anything remotely ill about pot on Reddit is a big no-no. A $70 ozone machine will permanently get rid of most smells in your home with just an hour of use. Pet, smoke, mold and other smells will be completely removed. However, ozone is toxic to living things, so it cannot be used with people or pets present. Ozone does, however, have a relatively short half-life, and return of normal use to the room can begin as soon as an hour after the machine has turned off. Hotels often use ozone machines to remove smoke smells when someone smokes in a room. They often have large industrial-sized machines that only need to run for 15 minutes or so. The room will be fresh smelling and ready for the next guest with less than an hour turnaround time. Edit. If you get an ozone machine, please read the directions and warnings. There are several differing opinions on when the room can be used again, and I'm not an expert. I just happen to know they work, and most people don't know about them. So, it fit the topic. How am I supposed to get to the ozone machine to turn it off if it's emitting poison? I'm going to assume they come with a timer function, or you can manually put them on a timer yourself. I work at a interstate mountain tunnel in Val. Please, for the love of God, don't stop to take pictures. Yes, it is cool, but stopping like that has caused more accidents than anyone would believe. You work at a tunnel? If you don't mind, what exactly do you do, and how much does it pay? I'm part of the maintenance department. Mostly structural and equipment maintenance. I make around $18/HR, which is decent in this area. Get a third party to do inspections on homes or rentals before you move instead of who the retail agent or landlord will provide. That third party inspector will be more honest about things that are faulty in the home rather than one that's contracted with the agency. Also, pay attention to services your town will provide and what community projects they are personally engaged in funding. This will affect your property taxes if you buy a home. Certainly sound advice before buying a home, but I don't see why you go through the hassle and expense for a rental. A renter isn't normally liable for the kinds of stuff that you hire an inspector to find. Maybe OP is referring to buying property for rental. It sucks how investors have been driving up the housing market, but a lot of people who have extra money do buy a second home or condo in the hopes of income. Especially now that Airbnb is essentially turning vast swaths of real estate into mini hotels. Just exercise, people. There is not a single medicine, cool clothing item, quick fix, whatever, that will give you a healthier and better life than exercise, except for circumstances where you need a medicine to live. Even 20 minutes of walking a day can have profound effects on your health. It's not hard, just exercise.